Hey y'all, welcome to RPG A Day 2023, Day 13. Favorite character demise, with demise being the highlighted word. I'm not going to talk about my wife's first PC again. I've done that like twice already just in 2 weeks. I'm also not going to talk about the demise of a campaign, and I was wondering what I was going to talk about at all today. And then one of Ivan Mike's latest videos just got me kind of noodling, and it's kind of spiraled off and tapped in or brought in or tentacled in um, a thread on a Rollmaster Facebook last group last night about somebody just commenting that um, our simulation systems popular anymore, or are people still finding them fun? So the demise I'm gonna talk about is the demise of crunchy systems. I don't really know. I'm not as well versed in new RPG systems as many people, especially as far as like keeping up to date with stuff. And maybe that is because I lean a little crunchier, and so. But it seems that crunchy systems are just not in vogue, and they haven't been in vogue for 20 to 30 years. So there's a demise there. But the reason that's old news then, right? That's old news. Crunchy systems, they probably fell out of fashion and they probably started losing interest in the 80s, honestly. I mean, Champions is still going, and BRP is a little crunchy. Excuse me. But they're kind of the minority, right? Um, and not nearly as heavily played. Like, even if you look at BRP being used in Call of Cthulhu, well, you also have Trails of Cthulhu and Octoon Cthulhu. I don't know anything about Octoon, but Trails, I believe, is definitely a lighter system, right? And so, the demise of the heavy crunch simulation system. The reason why I find that interesting is because, as I also commented on that thread, I have had no problem getting people interested in a game such as Rollmaster. Even people who are 25 or younger. No problems at all. And they're like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know if they're probably not as surprised as much as they're asking, like, what is my approach? But I find it interesting. My point being that there's just a demise as far as production / design of crunchy systems. And while there certainly is less of a very vocal um, purchasing group for crunchy systems, the enjoyment hasn't gone away. If you expose them to it in an experienced way, they seem to people seem to like it just fine. Um, L, I introduced her to role playing through Rollmaster, one of many people that I've done that to, and she has really enjoyed Fate. Completely opposite, right? Like very light versus very crunchy. But if I said, "Hey, let's play some Rollmaster," I don't think she would hesitate in the slightest. She'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it." Um, and so I find it interesting that there doesn't seem to be this as much of a distaste or inability to. It's not like there's been some huge cultural shift. There's definitely been a cultural shift that moved away as far as what marketing it might look good doing, but there hasn't been such a cultural or linguistic shift that changed the way we think to the point that we can no longer enjoy them. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Just tell me if I'm making sense. Um, I hate to have empty airspace here, but I don't want to repeat myself, and I'm not sure I'm being clear. Right? There's this. I don't feel like these two things match up. The demise of the design initiative doesn't seem to match up with people's enjoyment. Does it match up with their initial um, gut reaction, ears perking up? Sure. That's just the evolution of the hobby, I suppose, right? Like, we start with things like Dungeons and Dragons, then people ask questions like, what are those goblins in that cave eating? What are they even doing in that cave? What's that room in that cave for? And that spawns this whole, I don't want to say generation, right? But this whole faction, this whole group of people who go off thinking, oh yeah, let's really reproduce this stuff and let's really think about this stuff. And since then, we've gone more into like, but we want to make sure we can tell good stories and not just like suffer under the mechanics. And that seems to me to be the last shift that happened. And that shift happened 30 years ago, which is, that's interesting. It sounds like a complaint. It's more astonishment. Um, yeah. Man, maybe I should come back to this later and just like much more clearly lay out uh, some thoughts, or ask everybody to, hey, everybody get in on this and give me what you're thinking about it, okay? Especially you people who have been in the hobby longer than me. That's 93, and are probably therefore older than me. I mean, maybe you've been in the hobby longer than me because you're as old as me and you got in when you were in grade school. That gives you some different perspective, but at the same time, that's also when you were a child. The perspective you have at that point, historically, and understanding systems, and not game systems, but like systems of society and market and culture, probably weren't the same. So I'm really probably talking to the people who are like 10 years older than me. People like Ivan Mike and possibly Runeslinger and some other wonderfully gray-headed people. Anyways, talk to y'all later.